There you see President Joe Biden there visiting Uvalde, Texas over the weekend to pay his respects, of course, after last week's horrific massacre in that school down there that left 19 school children dead and 2 adults. So as he went through that whole situation, grieving with the parents as well, as you guys could hear, there was many folks standing out there chanting for him to do something, do something, do something, which he responded with, we will. Let's see. Maybe they're moving along with something, because he did also bring a heavy heart. There's a bit of a correlation here with things that Biden has experienced, because on the eve of this anniversary of the death of his own son, Beau, from cancer, the trip came just less than 2 weeks after Biden made a similar visit to Buffalo, New York, where 10 people were gunned down by a racist gunman at a supermarket in a predominantly black neighborhood. So there's a lot stacked up here. Now, there's some optimism that Biden does want to share with us from Republicans and potentially getting something done. So Biden spoke to reporters after his return to the White House, was asked if he believes talks between Republicans and Democrats could produce bipartisan gun legislation after the latest tragedy. Minority Leader Mitch McConnell tapped Texas Senator John Cornyn to work with Democrats on this legislation. I don't know, but I think there's a realization on the part of rational Republicans, and I consider Senator McConnell a rational Republican, and Cornyn as well, is what Biden said. I think there's a recognition on their part that we can't continue like this. We can't do this. And the president did address his limitations on Monday as far as this whole thing could potentially go. He told reporters that he knows he has a responsibility and that he will continue implementing changes through executive action. He does say this though, but I can't outlaw a weapon. I can't, change the background checks. So, David, from that point, we have rational Republicans that could potentially be taking part in gun legislation negotiations with Democrats who potentially want it. But he mentioned Mitch McConnell and John Cornyn. Mitch McConnell, rational Republican who, as we're dealing with the Supreme Court right now, openly and blatantly said, we're not going to appoint someone that President Obama had nominated because I just don't feel like it, it's the end of the year. Then asked if he would do it again if it was a Republican. He said, no, I wouldn't do it that way because it's a Republican. Is that a rational Republican? And also John Cornyn, who's been sent to these marching orders, continues down the same road under MAGA and Donald Trump. None of this was pushing back on the craziness of the Republican Party. So I don't have much faith in these rational Republicans.
Yeah, I mean, Biden is either lying or being completely or he is disconnected from reality. I mean, and I think it's a little of both. Like part of his job, I guess, is to try and reach across the aisle. That's what that's what traditionally they're supposed to do. But the modern day Republican Party, and modern day as in the past like 40 years, there's no willingness there to actually accomplish anything. It's a lot of virtue signaling. It's a lot of pretending, oh, we're gonna work together on this and this and this. And ultimately, either nothing gets done or something so tiny gets done that they consider that to be a massive victory. What Biden really needs to be doing right now is putting pressure on his own caucus, on Manchin, on trying to eliminate the filibuster, at least for a carve out to do something on gun reform. But instead, to try and rely on Republicans who have said they're going to oppose you every step of the way and allow you to pass nothing, I don't know how you can be honest in trying to claim they are being rational when all they have done up to this point is try to stop your entire agenda.
Even if they understand that, which I don't know how they couldn't, even if they do understand that, and this is the approach that they're gonna take, it looks like it's window dressing to a degree, which is the same thing that's always happened, except they're saying a little bit louder this time that they really want these changes. I'm talking about the Democratic Party. Speaking of which, Senator Chris Murphy, also a Democrat, he shared some of this optimism and he had some details. He was talking on ABC's This Week. Let's watch.
My hope is that this time is different. I get it. Every single time after one of these mass shootings, there's talks in Washington and they never succeed. But there are more Republicans interested in talking about finding a path forward this time than I have ever seen since Sandy Hook. And well, in the end, I may end up being heartbroken. I am at the table in a more significant way right now with Republicans and Democrats than ever before. Certainly many more Republicans willing to talk right now than were willing to talk after Sandy Hook.
Senator Chris Murphy was talking about how he hopes this time is different. Also that I understand every other time this happens and I'm gonna be heartbroken if they do it to me again. Why are these bending over backwards, fail type of words being used by one of these leaders of the party that's supposed to be pushing this agenda? And I agree with everything that Chris Murphy's trying to do here. But then when he says things like, I just hope I might be heartbroken again. Bro, you're a senator. Why are we heartbroken over what your colleagues are doing instead of calling them out for what they're doing? Have you heard Republicans talk about how they're heartbroken about what Democrats are trying to do? No, they said these bloodsuckers that are trying to take your life away are destroying your life. And then Democrats say, I'm gonna be heartbroken if some of my colleagues that are acting in good faith don't end up acting in good faith yet again. There's more about this because he did point out there's gonna be these dealings with gun violence, but there's some details. He's gonna get to what they're negotiating. Let's watch.
Listen, I've been clear. I'm not going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good.
That's how he started this next thing. He's going to talk about what's in it. I want to be clear. I'm not going to let perfect be the enemy of the good. That's a setup from Democrats whenever they want to tell their supporters, hey, you guys, I'm about to disappoint you. Let's let Chris Murphy go ahead and continue.
Listen, I've been clear. I'm not going to let the perfect be the enemy of the good. Of course, I would love to ban assault weapons. I think that's the probably most impactful way to stop these mass shootings. I would love universal background checks. That's the best way to try to curb the level of violence that happens in my city of Hartford and other cities like it across the country. But what we're talking about is not insignificant. Inside this room, we're talking about red flag laws. We're talking about strengthening and expanding the background check system, if not universal background checks. We're talking about safe storage. And yes, we're also talking about mental health resources and more security dollars for schools, a package that really in the end could have a significant downward pressure on gun violence in this country and break the logjam. Maybe that's the most important thing we could do, is just show that progress is possible and that the sky doesn't fall for Republicans if they support some of these common sense measures.
Part of the negotiations, David, is making sure Republicans don't think that the sky is going to fall if they oppose things that are murdering children that just happened under a week ago. That's the motivation. They don't have enough motivation to not be seen as people who are supporting laws that will continue to murder children and not forget children, but let's expand it. How about humans? How about Americans, since we're America first? The way to push Republicans is to hope that maybe they can be proven to that they can do something without being punished. That's the part of the negotiation. I have other thoughts about the details of that, but I want to get your thoughts first, Dave.
They really have no idea how to fight Republicans. And I say they have no idea because I think Murphy wants to do something. It sounds like he actually wants to. I think a lot of Democrats, they actually, on gun reform specifically, they actually want to do something because they realize this is a real issue. But they instead try to be, conciliatory, try to be welcoming to Republicans who have been opposing them the entire time. The only way to actually potentially maybe move Republicans on this issue is if they think it's going to hurt their chances at keeping their seat. And the only way to hurt their chances is by calling them out and making them feel terrible and ensuring that their voters realize how terrible they are so that they fear that they may lose their seat. That's the only way to move them. Having a beer, having tea, or doing whatever with that's not going to move them on this issue. You have to make them fear for their position. And the only way you do that is by actually fighting them. And through the way he's talking here, ultimately, I think if anything gets done, it's going to be more money for police. That's how it sounds. He's already opening up that as a potential avenue here. Oh, more money. Sure, we should raise the age and think about doing more in background checks, but also, more in policing. Like once you start getting to that, what's ultimately going to happen is the actual reforms are going to be tossed aside for more money for police and securing schools. One door maybe at a school. Somehow that's going to solve the problem. I'm not sure how that works in a fire, but that's what's going to end up happening. It's going to be entirely the Republican proposals, so more money for police and nothing on the actual issue.
That's I went through some of the things he said. These are negotiation points. Red flag laws. These are, I guess, what the Democrats are proposing. Red flag laws, expanding background checks, as you point out, and safe storage. Safe storage. Okay, maybe there's details. I'm not in negotiation factors. I'm not a senator. But the other side of it was mental health stuff, security dollars for schools, as you point out there. So those things that usually aren't in it when we're talking about negotiations and holding firm to what you're going to do. We're always talking about background checks and trying to do something with red flag laws. How much have those really gotten? Let's expand the background checks. We'll see what degree that they choose to do that. But when you start adding things like, hey, let's add things for mental health capabilities and things like that. In what form? How? Where? How does it connect to this? What is he gonna do? Or we're just gonna say mental health reform and then move on and then throw more dollars, which actually is security dollars for schools. That's when we're talking about these raising of fences, hardening of doors, tripwires, security guards at every school, guns in teachers' hands. That's those parts. Those are the things the Republicans are pushing for. And the exchange will be, we'll push one more background check expansion. That's where these negotiations stand. It's really frustrating. I'm going to hold out my 5% of optimism, different than what Chris Murphy and President Biden are holding out right now. We'll see.